What's up, Trios Tribe? Bringing you guys by popular request my deck list for Sanji. I went to locals. A lot of like, a lot of like the high stakes competitors decided to go to Peoria and get what did they get out? I know Garrett got top 8, and then Evan got top 16. So they clapped, but that means that I was able to clap at locals. But no, I posted it on Twitter and I got a lot of requests, or I got like, for me, a lot of followers on Twitter is like what, 5 followers. So I imagine they're all following me purely to see what the deck list is. So I guess I decided to facilitate that desire, and then we got the winner Riso. I wish these were foil, and I wish it didn't. If they, I hate that it's not foil, but I would be fine with it if it didn't have this dumb winner stamp on it. I really hate that winner stamp. It just ruins the card to me for no reason. Like, but the Sanji looks sick. We know we got the alt art Sanji, so dope. But yeah, let's get into it. I know there's a lot of people online that have like posted their deck lists for like what they think Sanji is, and I definitely consider this list like an amalgamation of a lot of different lists I've seen. Like Los Fiends has one, OP TCG Daniel made one, Three Swords Production also has a really good list that I liked. But at the end of the day, like I took a little bit of everybody and just kind of made a list that I've just grown to like and ended up doing well. So let's get into it. Let's start with the vanillas. Like, so we got, I think it's 10 2K or 10 2 drops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, sorry. The names don't matter. So we're at what? We're at sorry. Oh God. I'm not prepared. 7, 8, 9, 10. We're at 10 2 drops. There's nothing to be said. It could be any blue 2-drop vanilla. Like, we want 10 because against most decks we want we want to see going sec. We want to go second, and we want to be able to 2-drop, and then next turn play a 4-drop, and then put 1 Dawn under each of these, and then swing 3 times with our leader. Right? That's so much pressure early on against a lot of decks that you just have a good, it's just a good time. It's hard against Whitebeard, but against Whitebeard, maybe I'll get into it a little bit, but Whitebeard, your early turns are kind of easy. Like, they should be, I kind of feel like they should just always be the same regardless of what your hand is. But hopefully you have like an optimal hand, but we'll get into that in a second. Yeah, so 10 2 drops. 10 2 drops, and then we play 5 3 drops. They can be any name. I choose to match them. It could be like the Usopp is whatever, and then I pick Mocha as the 5th one. It could be the Weevil. It could be I think there's another green one. The Wano girl. I forget her name, but it could be her. But there's just 5 3 drops. I've been going back and forth on how many I want. I want to be able to get my 3 sword style. Spoilers, I run that card. I want to get the 3 sword style like active as much as possible. And it's also, the 3 drops are also good going first. So it's just, it is what it is, right? Next, 4 drops. We got 3 of the Gecko Moria and then 4 of the Zoros. Again, these could be any 4 drops that you can play. I know like there's a Gene Bart, and then for 4-drop blue there's a Don Krieg. It really doesn't matter. You could just like make a rainbow with them if you want. Like, they're just vanillas. The names in this deck don't matter. Yeah, not much to say. It's just again, it really helps out the curve going second when you 2-drop and then 4-drop that next turn. And then you just have so much power on the board so quickly that a lot of decks just can't answer it in time, or you just have so many bodies to respond to like Red Zoro stuff that like if they try to go in with all their 1-drops, like you have a body to answer each one, and you're just doing clean kills on all of them with your Dawn. Makes life easy. The numbers, I don't know. I know like in my heart of hearts, I want to go to 8. Like I want one more Gecko Moria, for example, but I don't know. And for the next card, you'll see I play 1 5-drop. Sometimes the curve just works out for a 5-drop, and there's just depending on the board state, like just a 7k 5-drop that's actually for 3, just kind of like it crushes people really hard, and that's the whole point of the deck, right? Like you're trying to be efficient with your Dawn, and so you're trying to play these like cheap big bodies, and then Sanji makes the bodies cheaper. And like, I mean, like you look at Yamato lists and you look at Katakuri lists, and they're all running vanilla 5k 7-drop or 7k 5-drop, but like it's just a good card. But like there are worlds where it's like that in this deck you want to leave a lot of Dawn up for your options on your opponent's turn, so like more often than not the like 1 extra Dawn kind of matters. So maybe you could make it, maybe that's where I get the 4th Moria, but sometimes just Frankie crushes it and he dodges Jet Pistol. Like that's the problem. That's my biggest problem with these the 4 drops is just it's a free kill on Jet Pistol. That's all they end up being sometimes. And against Smoker, like you kind of need to ramp up your costs at some point. Like if you're just playing 4 drops all game, they're going to be killing 4 drops all game, if you get my point. So it's just, you need to be able to just go up. And so, I don't know. The 1 Frankie works. And he's the only 5-drop 7k for blue-green, I think. I don't think blue has one yet. Maybe no, blue has Virgo, but I play Frankie. Frankie's cool. And then 6-drop, I think every Sanji player kind of agrees that if you can establish this Mihawk on board, you are having a good time. Like if you can get 1, their games, and if you can get 2, oh my god, it's just too much pressure again. Like especially against Whitebeard. I mean, like I guess I didn't say at the beginning of the video, but I went 4-1 at locals, and I went. It was 5 Whitebeards in a row, and they were all Strawbeard. And I was able to, against them, like the way you played, the way I was playing the matchup, like eventually, like you get to the point where you're at 6 Dawn, drop this, and it's just so much pressure for them. It becomes so much pressure for them because he's an 8k, he's not easy to deal with clean. You can't just like they have to Otama Jet Pistol, but not a lot of them run Jet Pistol anymore, or even like getting rid of, and then Otama's a 2k that they're trying to keep in hand the entire game. So it just does not work out for them to try to kill this guy. And then like in turn, you try to do everything you can to defend him once you finally do swing. So like oftentimes I'll swing with him, and then I'll have to like, that's where I'm going to spend my Dawn protecting him afterwards. Is really the focus of my game after that, is just making sure that body stays. That way, especially against Whitebeard, like I'd much rather put 10 Dawn under a Mihawk and swing for 18 than 15k, right? It just lets you do so much so easily, and he's cheap. Like you play him for 4 most of the time, and then against Smoker, 6-drop is kind of hard to get rid of. It dodges everything for them unless they start reducing, but like, I mean, it's Smoker, like it's Smoker, right? If there was another 6-drop vanilla in green or blue, I probably would bump it up to 4. That's probably where the Frankie would go, to play 5 of this instead of 8 4-drops, just because the 6-drop vanilla is just so strong. It's honestly the best monster in the deck. But that's it for vanillas. I think it's like, what, 20-something vanillas? 10 2-drops, 5 3-drops, and then 7 4-drops, 4 6-drops. If there was more 6-drops, I would. And then 1 5-drop wherever he went. There he is. But yeah, and then there's for the non-vanilla cards, I'll start off, like you'll see. We played 1 Eustace Kid 8-drop. I got that idea from 3 Swords podcast, but you know, playing it more and more, I think I would just rather run 3 of the starter deck Kid. Like there are just days where you need blocker, but you also need to be able to swing, and being able to play him for 7, and then for the rest of and if you were able to do that on a decent board for the rest of the game, you just have a free 8k swing that's also going to block for you. And the fact that he does that has closed out games for me so often, more often than not. Whereas this Kid, he just ends up sitting in my hand, it feels like. So maybe he should just end up being like something else or a different blocker. I mean, there are some cool stuff you can do with him. Like you can tap him, play a 2-drop. If you're only at one character, let's say, you can play him, tap him, use his effect to play vanilla, one of the 2 drops or 3 drops, and then untap 2, and then you can put the Dawn under, so he's now live. But there's also something to be said about like your opponent's forced to swing into this, and it feels really weird sometimes having your opponent swing into this, especially on the turn where you play him, because your way you defend your cards in Sanji is like with Dawn, right? Because you're playing your spells to defend your characters. But like you can't do that if you tapped out to play Kid and make his effect live. And I don't know, maybe I'm just playing it wrong. Maybe I haven't played too much into it, but I almost think I'd rather a third starter deck Kid. But we're still trying it out. We're still learning. And then so the big thing for me in Sanji was like, I am a blue-green leader, right? We have 4 life right there. It'll focus one day. We have 4 life, and because we're a dual color leader, we have 4 life. So I'm like, well, how do I get value out of the fact that the whole point of being a 4 life leader is that like, oh, but now you have access to cards and combos that other just pure decks don't get. And I'm like, okay, that cool, but like only really Law has been able to do that. So how do I do that for Sanji? And so what I thought about doing, and something that's worked really well, is comboing Paradise Waterfalls with Boa Hancock. There are just a lot of board states that you can play Boa on and give her the Dawn, and then like let's say you play Boa for 4 and she survives the turn passes. Great, you have this in hand. You can, on your turn, you can swing, put the Dawn under her, swing, draw your card. Now you got a 6k swing in. That's either a 2k or a 1k out of your opponent's hand. So that's 1 card plus you drew the card off. So now you're at there's a card economy is in your favor by 2 cards now, right? Like if you like, not counting her, right? But then okay, cool. And then on their turn, if they swing at you or commit, or if they swing at you on your turn and like they avoid her, or you can even save her, you Paradise Waterfall, restand her, and now you can block again to get another card, and you're still not neg any cards because you Paradise Waterfall her, and then if you block on that same turn, you regain the card you lost, so you're not even down any advantage for double blocking with this, and then or blocking with this, and then so you get another card out, or you just save her and you swing another card late on the crackback anyway. So she's just, there are board states where she's just she just goes, at worst case scenario, she goes net neutral on cards, and it's so good. And I almost want to bump up Paradise Waterfall to 3 because, like I said, like even with this the starter deck Kid being able to block and then Paradise Waterfall restand him, that's also cracked, you know. And then again, Paradise Waterfall, as I was mentioning earlier, like you want to be, once you've established a Mihawk, you want to protect the hell out of him, and your opponent's going to try to kill him. Like I think the correct play is to try to get the Mihawk off the board, and the easiest, the most common way to do that is swinging into it. So like if let's say they swing 9k at it, you can Paradise Waterfall, restand it, or worst case scenario, they try to get a 2k out of you, you Paradise Waterfall it, restand, and then pitch a 1k, but it's worth saving the Mihawk. Right, those 2 cards are worth a Mihawk because Mihawk's going to then swing for 8k at least, and then demanding 2Ks out of your opponent at minimum. It's just I don't know. That's where I kind of came up with it, where it's like, where do I get my blue/green value out of Sanji? And that's what I came up with. It's worked really well. And worst case scenario, you can just drop her as a blocker, and then sometimes in some board states, like that one blocker ends the game for you, or wins the game for you, because now they just can't get the swings they want, and you just win the game off of that. No, that's it. Not too many like actual like effect cards, but it is what it is. And then for the events, we got double Paradise Waterfall. I want to go up to 3. We don't know if we're gonna get there yet. And then 3 sorts. The three drop counters. The 3 drops counters are so good. Just 1 Deathlink, But three of the three swords, three of the three sword style. This gets people, if it's in your life, oh my god, resting a leader. People never see the idea of their leader getting rested as a possibility. They never see it coming, and it gets people all the time. Plus 6k counter. Plus it also lets you leave your Dawn open sometimes. Let's say you're at 2 characters and you want to play a 3-drop just to like play something. You don't have to do that turn. You can wait for your opponent to swing at you, play this, play your 2 or 3 drop, and then the turn passes and it's like you played it on your turn anyway without like committing value on board. So it's cheeky. Like you get a lot of stuff off of with this card, and I mean people expect it now. Like I think most people, like, they see Sanji and they're gonna expect the 6k counter hands, but that doesn't mean that it's not hard to deal with and your opponent's like struggling to try to get around an onigiri or a Deathwink in their hand. And Deathwink is just good. Sometimes you run low on cards, which was partial of my idea with the Boa Hancock. So being able to I've plenty of games I've Deathwinked into 2 more spell cards and then been able to counter out of something just from the cards I was able to draw off of Deathwink and then win games off of that. So it's good stuff. It's good stuff. Can't complain. And then we got the 2-drop spells, bread and butter. 3 love beams. We need to keep our hands full. I've been back and forth on the ratios, but right now we're on 3 love beam. Drawing a card is good, but then there are games where I have popped off with Boa and the love beam doesn't draw me a card, and that feels weird. 3 Pump Gibson. Our removal in this deck is swinging into our opponent's characters for the most part. That's how we get rid of everything. So suspending their characters is really mandatory for us. So 3 Pump Gibson, again, debating on 4, but yeah. And then we play 3 Overheat. Just another 2-drop spell, and bouncing cards sometimes is really good depending on tempo and how you want to play it. Sometimes you're giving Whitebeard back another counter, and that feels bad. But getting a body off the board is just, even if they have to replay it later, just forcing your opponent to use Dawn the way they didn't want, it just isn't bad, right? But yeah, that's the deck. But like, you know, after playing Whitebeard 5 games in a row, I've learned that I like going first. Because they're going to make you go second, and they're going to make you go first either way, so just learn to play that way. But my favorite thing in the deck so far is, not ideally, but ideally you have a 3-drop, a 2-drop, and then one of your higher end cards. And then, so turn 1, you're at 1 Dawn, you just pass. Turn 2, the cleanest play is actually play a 2-drop, untap the 2, and then put all 3 Dawn under Sanji and swing. Right? This is early Whitebeard. They're at 2 Dawn. They probably played something like a Nami or something, and then swung at you just to get a cheeky 7k out of you, or a 7k early life out of you. Happens all the time. They always do it. Their turn 1 with 2 Dawn, they always use both of it, so they're not sitting on guard points most of the time. And if they are, getting rid of guard point early is still okay, right? Like, that's just one more option card later that you're not gonna have to math out in your head, which is always good. So my biggest recommendation for Sanji and just the Whitebeard matchup in general, because I feel like this probably applies to other decks too, just don't be afraid to just put Dawn under leader and swing. Like, they're like, so all right, like, let's follow my route. I play 2-drop, untap 3 Dawn, put 3 under, swing lead 6k again. This 4-drop for me, this 4k for me is literally going to exist there for the rest of the game, unless for some reason they kill it somehow. But what I'm really going to use it for is it's just going to sit there, and it's going to stop them from trying to, or it's going to have them reconsider swinging with any little dorks, right? They sometimes they like to swing with their Nami sometimes. They like to swing with the Maki. They sometimes run the Maki no Nami engine. This will stay on the board just to get a free kill on any one of those, and that's just how that is. For the rest, and then, so I'm going all over the place. So turn 2, I have 3 Dawn, 8k swing lead. Play this. Next turn, we're at 4 Dawn. We're at 4 Dawn, and then, or we're at 5 Dawn. Ideally, we play this, and now we have 3 Dawn, 8k swing again at lead. All right, they do whatever. They've had to give up cards to do this, right? And so now you've set them back a lot of cards, and now you have a 6k for the rest of the game, or not the rest of the game, but now you're coming at them next turn with at least a 6k. You can make it bigger, and then in a perfect world, you start leaving Dawn. You either just start, four dropping them again and again, and now you're leaving Dawn up to, and you're still swinging for 7k. You turn this into your 8k swing every turn, and now you're keeping Dawn up to protect your characters. You're leaving to use your options, and then eventually you get to enough Dawn where it's really safe to drop a Mihawk and still keep Dawn up to protect yourself, and then play all your options. The deck is really good, and I think it I'm almost thinking that it has a solid Whitebeard matchup if you play it right. And if they I think the Boatbeard, you have a harder time against Boatbeard because they just have so many blockers. But a lot of people have been playing Strawbeard, and I feel like Strawbeard is such a greedy deck because they just don't play blockers, and they just rely on having big stuff and killing you with that big stuff. But if you have big stuff in return and you're doing the same thing back to them, and they're just throwing cards away, because they also, the thing about Whitebeard is they're trying not to take their own life on as a security check. So they just start countering out of everything they can, and then they just start running themselves dry of their own resources. So by the time it's late game and they finally grab their last life, you're sitting there with a Mihawk on board, and at all times you're sitting at a Mihawk and probably another 4-drop, and you're like, okay, well, I can just 18k swing, or I can just mix it up between these 3 swings, and you're just gonna not have enough because I've burned you the whole game. And even the Whitebeard turn gets really weird because my Mihawk can still swing 0 Dawn commitment and still get a card from you. And then if you try to swing at it, I can counter out to protect it because I only used 1 Dawn to protect it, or to swing, or whatever, you know what I mean? I didn't have to use Dawn to commit this swing. So I get a card for free, and then I have a million Dawn to either play another body just to try to go for game next turn, or play my blockers, or defend it with Paradise Waterfalls, Overheats, whatever have you. So I think there's a lot of room for Sanji to grow. I think, at least in this meta, I think it has a better Whitebeard matchup than people give it credit for. Even then, I give it credit for, but it is, when they see the 9-drop, see the 9-drop Whitebeard, it's really hard. I'm not saying there's a reason Sanji isn't topping, right? I'm not trying to huff copium for everybody, but I like the deck. It doesn't get better next set. Sorry, there's no good vanillas that come out, and the deck just I think it's a one and done for the Sanji. There's just not a lot of decks coming out, or there's not a lot of vanillas. And so that's it. That's my list. I'll share it on Twitter or something so everyone can see it. But yeah, share, subscribe, and see you guys next time. I always appreciate the support, and I always try to give you guys what you want.